Well, Harry's decision to reveal the number of Taliban chess pieces he killed as an Apache pilot in Afghanistan has been condemned as a betrayal of the armed forces. Here's a reminder in his own words.
I could always say precisely how many enemy combatants I'd killed, and I felt it vital never to shy away from that number. Among the many things I learned in the army, accountability was near the top of the list. So, my number? 25. It wasn't a number that gave me any satisfaction, but neither was it a number that made me feel ashamed.
Well, I'm joined in the studio by Hanif Kadir, who's a consultant on counter-terrorism and a former member of Al-Qaeda, the terror group. Also joining us is former US Navy SEAL and the man who shot Osama bin Laden, Rob O'Neill, and Colonel Richard Kent, the former commander in Afghanistan for the British Armed Forces. So welcome to all of you. Hanif Kadir, you're a former extremist at the start, really, of Al-Qaeda's operations in Afghanistan after George Bush declared the war on terror, but you quickly renounced them after seeing what they did to civilians.
Absolutely.
And you've become now an expert in counter-terrorism and how to tackle this. What impact do you think Harry's comments will have had?
Well, I think firstly, coming from a senior member of the royal family, he hasn't got the combination of qualities that one should expect: dignity, honour, courage, courtesy, justice and compassion. And his statements that he's made, pretty reckless and damaging. Not only have they painted a bigger bullseye on the British Armed Forces, but anything to do with the institution, but also his own family as well. And I think the statement that's come out of Afghanistan so far from Anas Haqqani, I mean, it's pretty modest, but we can expect that he's allowed the narrative to move a few more notches up, where we've been trying to counter that extremist narrative over the years, and it's been pretty difficult. The UK narrative, well, let's say the British military narrative, has been quite effective so far. But what he's gone and done, he's just gone and annihilated it.
Well, let me bring in Colonel Kent. I mean, you operated in Afghanistan, one of the commanders there. Harry has told People magazine, it's a duty, a job, a service to our country. I've done all I could to be the best soldier I could. There's truly no right or wrong way to try and navigate these feelings. But I know from my own healing journey that silence has been the least effective remedy. Expressing and detailing my experience is how I chose to deal with it in the hopes it would help others. What's your reaction to that justification?
Well, I think he's actually, in the comments he's made, I don't personally have a huge problem with him spelling out the numbers he's killed. Everyone knows he was a crew member of an Apache attack helicopter whose job was to kill the enemy. I don't have an issue with that. The issue I have is with the way he's described British Army training to teach people like him that the Taliban and the enemy are less than human. They're just chess pieces to be swept off the board, which is dangerous because it's wrong. That's not the way the British Army is taught. And it also shows the army in a way that I think feeds straight into jihadist propaganda. They'll use that, they already have used it, to show the lack of humanity of the British forces, the way the British forces did not treat fighters in Afghanistan as human beings. And it will lead, I think, to radicalisation and possibly to inciting Taliban and other jihadists to carry out attacks against British people here in this country and elsewhere in the world.
Well, Rob O'Neill, I mean, there's been a lot of backlash to this from the British Armed Forces, certainly. Almost everyone I've seen has shared the view of Colonel Kent that he shouldn't have gone down this avenue. We know you as the man who heroically shot and killed the world's worst terrorist, Osama bin Laden, and thank you again for doing that. We know that because you wrote about it yourself in a book. A great book, and you talk about other kills as well in there. Do you intrinsically have any problem with what Harry has said here?
No, I don't have a problem with it at all, Piers. If he goes through the proper channels, which I hope he did, then there's nothing wrong with talking about what happens in war. And it's just, as far as the history of war goes and for future generations, as long as it's the truth, and if you're telling the truth, you don't need to remember anything else. Having said they're like chess pieces, I think that's giving him a compliment because it's not that complex. The man's flying an Apache helicopter, a kill helicopter, and he's giving him a little bit of credit. I mean, it's not like Islamists are going to like us any less or want to kill us more because of something Prince Harry said. And it's, the Haqqanis are saying it. The Haqqanis have been jihadis and criminals, traffickers and drug pushers since the Russians invaded. So it's not like they're great people either. Yeah, I mean, he said what he said, and I think he was nice about it. It was up to me, and they were actually terrorists. I wish he would have killed more.
I mean, somebody said that there's a big difference between a British soldier or someone like you, for example, killing 100 Taliban and a member of the royal family killing one, that the amplification of the fact he's a member of the royal family doing this does put a bigger security risk target against the royal family, against him and his family now in California, and potentially against British troops because of who he is.
Well, like I was saying, I mean, there's been a target on them forever, and there will be. And it's not like if he'd said nothing, they could put their heads in the sand and pretend they're not targets. They are targets. I hope their security is, on point. And I hope, hope they're fine. But the realization there are people that they're going to hate him and me and you just the same, as always. And they're going to prop this up. They're putting Afghanistan back on the map and Helmand Province, which is dangerous on the map. But he said what he said, and I'm glad he said it. And we can learn from what people did there.
If you had a have you got any brothers? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I've got an older brother, and as far as getting beat up,
well, I was going to ask you, if your older brother,
I would have talked about him beating me up too.
If your older brother had knocked you into a dog bowl and broken your necklace, would you have ever put that into the public domain, or would you have felt that that would be probably the most shameful admission you could ever make?
Well, being a younger brother, like I said, I tell my brother he was the reason I joined the Navy, just so I could come back and kick his butt. And it all depends on the size of the contract. If I need to rub some dirt on my brother to get some cash, who knows?
What do you make it, Rob, of this? I mean, you're one of the most famous guys in America. What do you make of this Harry and Meghan ongoing saga? Do you care?
Well, I am married, and Jessica loves it, so I hear about it. I had to tell her the other day, look, Jessica, as much as I love to talk to you about this, I'm out of talking points. I don't care enough to do it. I mean, I have never met either one of them, and I wish them the best. It is entertaining once in a while, but I just can't get into it that much when there's other things in life that are more important to me.
Do you ever think that maybe if King George III had not been so useless, we could have still had a royal family in America, possibly even King Piers by now?
Yeah, King Piers. I tell you what, if we want to make campaign posters for 2024, put me on there with you, buddy.
I think I could have done a good job on the throne of America. Rob O'Neill, great to talk to you. Colonel Kemp, thank you very much. Hanif Kadir, appreciate you coming in for your perspective.